Thank you for joining us today. We've placed you all on mute, and we will unmute you when you have a question during the question and answer period. If you have any feedback during the webinar, please use the chat function. Today, Environment America Research and Policy Center and the Frontier Group are releasing our new report, From Pollution to Solutions, Maximizing Clean Energy Progress from State Carbon Pricing Investments. We thank the Energy Foundation for supporting the creation and release of this report, including today's webinar. The latest National Climate Assessment makes it clear we urgently need to ratchet down carbon pollution to avert the worst impacts of global warming. The stories of how northeastern and mid-Atlantic states have capped pollution while investing in energy efficiency and clean energy provide great examples for other states, especially New Jersey and Virginia, which are in the process of joining this bipartisan program. Today we'll hear from two panelists, Dean Fisher and Nicola Zuba, who will discuss successful case studies of investment of RGGI revenues in Maryland and Connecticut. But first, we'll start with an introduction from the State Director of Environment, New Jersey, Doug OMalley, and then we are delighted to be joined by Maryland Secretary of the Environment, Ben Grumbles, who also serves as the chair of RGGI, Inc. And now I'd like to introduce Mr. Doug OMalley, Director of Environment, New Jersey.
Good afternoon. This is Doug OMalley. I'm the Director of Environment, New Jersey, here in lovely Trenton, New Jersey. And I'm really excited to be on the webinar this afternoon because this report released by Environment America Research and Policy Center provides clear examples of how northeastern and mid-Atlantic states have used funds from the sale of carbon pollution allowances to support our region's transition to a clean energy future. In states that have used RGGI auction money to improve energy efficiency, install more renewable energy capacity, and prepare for an energy system that will definitely use less fossil fuels. And especially in light of the National Climate Assessment released over Black Friday, we clearly need to double down on programs like RGGI. Because RGGI is a climate program that works and it provides real and tangible clean energy benefits to its member states. And New Jersey, unfortunately, has missed out on RGGI clean energy investments for the majority of this decade. And it's critical New Jersey rejoins the RGGI program with gusto, with a strong carbon emissions cap that will maximize clean energy investments and provide stringency for rejoining states. I wanted to summarize quickly some of the examples that the report highlights. Obviously, we will get a chance to hear more from Dean Fisher at the Maryland Energy Administration, talk about the benefits of clean energy for low and middle income households, as well as Nicola Zuba, who will speak on the amazing success of Connecticut's CPACE program, provide loans to businesses to finance energy efficiency and renewable energy projects. So I won't steal the thunder, but I will reference that there are multiple other examples within the RGGI region of states making clean energy investments that are paying tremendous dividends. In Maine, we see RGGI investments going to cutting carbon pollution beyond the electricity sector, specifically to switching homeowners to less polluting home heating sources. In Massachusetts and New York, we see both of those states leveraging RGGI funds to spur municipalities to embrace clean energy, specifically in Massachusetts through the Green Communities Program, which offers RGGI-funded grants to towns and cities. And then also in Massachusetts, that state has become the national leader 8 years in a row in energy efficiency, and that's partially because they dedicate most of the carbon auction revenue from RGGI towards meeting the state's ambitious energy efficiency goals. And then finally, New York State has invested RGGI funds to support R&D efforts that will clearly facilitate future emission reductions. So all of these are tremendous examples of the progress of the RGGI program. And sitting here in New Jersey, we kind of painfully have been watching from the sidelines because we helped to start RGGI and we founded RGGI, started in 2005 with a bipartisan set of state leaders around the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic. And we invested RGGI auction revenue in clean energy investments right here in New Jersey, including solar on a parking lot installation at William Patterson University in Passaic County, as well as energy efficiency investments for businesses. Ultimately, though, the story in New Jersey for the majority of this decade has been the work to get New Jersey back into RGGI. We led the effort to oppose Governor Christie's decision to withdraw from the program in 2011, and ultimately we filed successful litigation with NRDC the next year that forced the administration's hand to hold a public hearing and public comment process on the withdrawal process. And I'm very proud to say that last year during the gubernatorial race, both candidates for governor endorsed the RGGI program, and as one of the first acts in office, Governor Phil Murphy signed Executive Order 7 to begin the process for New Jersey to officially rejoin the program. That being said, to maximize clean energy investments through RGGI, it's critical that New Jersey adopts the strongest possible carbon emissions cap on New Jersey's fossil fuel power plant emissions to ensure that we are fulfilling the initial goal of the RGGI program, and at this point, following the footsteps of our other northeastern and mid-Atlantic states that have so successfully invested RGGI auction revenue. So with that, let me turn it back over to Andrea.
And now it is my honor to introduce Secretary Ben Grumbles.
Working very closely with Catherine McCabe and her team at the Department of Environmental Protection, and also Joe Fiordaliso from the Public Utility Commission, as they continue to work to craft a potential regulation that would allow them to re-enter and participate in RGGI. This is very important work, and we're all committed to ensuring that it can happen so that by the time we have our first auction in 2020, New Jersey and Virginia would be part of that important effort. We'll continue to work with additional states, provide information to them on what RGGI does and the environmental and economic and public health benefits from the regional cap and trade, cap and invest program, as we like to call it. And we hope to see the program grow over the years. So there's a lot to look ahead to. And again, congratulations to Environment America for their important report on pollution to solutions, maximizing clean energy. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Secretary Grumbles. Next, we will hear from Dean Fisher from the Maryland Energy Administration.
Well, greetings, and thank you for the opportunity to touch upon the Maryland Energy Administration's low to moderate income grant program, which I will refer to as the LMI program moving forward. I am Dean Fisher with the Maryland Energy Administration, and I've been managing this program since its inception in 2010. Next slide, please. The grant program is funded by the Strategic Energy Investment Fund, SEIF. SEIF is comprised of a variety of funding sources. However, RGGI auction proceeds are the primary component. The LMI program's revenue distribution is determined by state statute. Next slide, please. This program helps the helpers. It is a competitive program. Projects implemented by nonprofit organizations and local governments that provide energy efficiency and weatherization measures to LMI Maryland homes, as well as commercial buildings that primarily serve LMI Marylanders, for example, a homeless shelter, are eligible for grant consideration. It allows for moderate income residents to participate. The grant funds must be used to fund energy efficiency projects that benefit Maryland's LMI population. Low and moderate income households are defined as households with total household incomes that are less than 60% and 85% respectively of the median income for each Maryland county. Next slide. The program seeks to fill the gap between the utility programs and the federal programs, like the Weatherization Assistance Program, or WAP. The competitive review criteria encourage leveraged funding to stretch the dollars and the number of LMI residents served while increasing awareness and participation in Maryland's utility programs. The review criteria encourage assistance to LMI residents that are unable to participate in the federally funded programs such as WAP to avoid duplication. It also enables these programs on occasion. For example, awards have been given to grantees that cost-effectively fix heating, ventilating, and air conditioning (HVAC) systems that will enable weatherization under the WAP program. The flexibility of the SEIF funding source allows the program to assist many different types of buildings, many of which are unable to participate in other programs. Next slide. The LMI looks for cost-effective measures. For residentially metered buildings, grantees develop projects whose energy conservation measures in aggregate have a simple payback that is less than 10 years. For commercially metered buildings, grantees develop projects with energy conservation measures that, in aggregate, have a simple payback of less than 15 years. When a single measure is proposed, it needs to have a simple payback that is less than the anticipated equipment life and needs to be more efficient than just a standard baseline install would be. We require that any HVAC upgrades be done in a building that has also received weatherization air sealing for best practices. Next slide. MEA developed an energy savings calculator that uses the Mid-Atlantic Technical Reference Manual calculations to derive program savings estimations. We try to roll up the most robust data we can. On our most recent evaluation, measurement, and verification report this last spring, we earned a 100% realization rate for electricity and fossil fuel savings assumptions. And for the information I'm about to share on the next slide please, that's the 100% realization rates as best as we can tell. You are the first group to view these results. I'm just closing out the 2017 program. And these are the first look at the numbers that'll be available on our webpage within the next week or so. Of note, the job hours are reflective of administrative charges from the grantees, as well as the contractor hours associated with the implementation of the measures. Also, the simple payback given is just for the programmatic install costs, the 8.6 years. However, you can see on the pie chart to the right, when we add in the administrative and health and safety costs, the program still achieved a simple payback of about 11 years. Next slide. To hopefully make this information as useful as I can to all of the people on the call, we scaled it to $1 million. So what will $1 million accomplish? And you can now see, based on our 2017 program results, here's the quantitative gains that you can expect from running a similar program. The qualitative gains are not reflected, the most obvious being increases in comfort and health and safety for LMI residents, as well as other increases for those who don't pay their bills, such as more beds, more services, and of course, emissions reductions. The program has literally saved numerous lives due to the standards we enforce with the grant awards, specifically for combustion area zone and combustion appliance testing. Next slide. Thanks for the opportunity. That's a link to the program webpage. Like I say, we'll have this information and case studies up within the next week for your information. And we also have information on past programs, emissions reductions, greenhouse gas equivalency, case studies, videos, and a list of the past grantees, their award amounts, and projects. With that, I'll pass it back to Andrea. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks so much, Dean. Next, we will hear from Nicola Zuba from the Connecticut Green Bank.
Great, thank you so much, Andrea, and good afternoon, everyone. So this is, again, Nicola Zuba. I'm a senior manager on the commercial and industrial programs team at the Connecticut Green Bank, and it's a privilege to be here today to tell you about how basically these public dollars like RGGI has helped to support the efforts of the Connecticut Green Bank and CPACE program more specifically, which is what I manage here at the Connecticut Green Bank. Please go to the next slide. So the Connecticut Green Bank is a quasi-public agency of the state of Connecticut, founded in this form in 2011, in which case this organization is meant to meet a certain vision and mission. So the vision is that we are here as one of the first statewide green banks formed in the country. We are seeking to be leaders in this green bank movement and to help accelerate the private investment into clean and green energy sources so that we can help to achieve economic prosperity, continue to create good jobs for contractors and for those end users who will basically benefit from those sources, promoting energy security, and then addressing the scourge of climate change today. And then our mission, of course, is to meet the Connecticut's energy strategy in order to achieve cleaner, cheaper, and certainly more reliable sources of energy, while we can continue to create jobs and fostering economic development opportunities on the local level throughout the entire state. Please go on to the next slide. And so let me just tell you a little bit about the model of the Connecticut Green Bank and how, when we were using RGGI funds, and I like to emphasize that because We were beneficiaries of RGGI funding up until about June of 2017, but because of a budget reconciliation process that occurred in calendar year 2017, the RGGI funding allocations that we got as an organization were stripped from us to basically to fill a budgetary gap of $2 billion that was projected to be seen for fiscal years 18 and 19, fiscal year 19, what we're currently in. So at this point, we are not currently benefiting from those funds to help our energy efficiency and clean energy efforts, but as a provision within that budget reconciliation process, those funds are meant to be restored to us after the fiscal year 19 does commence and does complete in June of 2019. And so we hope that we'll be able to see the benefits of those funds in the future. But so just to give you though an example though, so we have received a couple of different forms of public funds. So one of those was RGGI, and then the other is ratepayers will pay a surcharge that is placed on their utility bills, which includes electricity and natural gas bills, that will then go to funding particular energy efficiency initiatives throughout the state of Connecticut for both the utilities and as well as the Connecticut Green Bank. And then the idea is that we would seed those public funds to create a balance sheet of the Connecticut Green Bank, so then we can then begin to attract in other private sector investment to leverage the public dollars that we do get, so that we can create a bigger impact and create an effort so that we can get as much projects done as possible throughout the state of Connecticut to meet our energy and environmental goals. And then the idea is that we will then attract all that investment to place it into programs that would be designed to lower then the energy burden on ratepayers, so that again, we're then being good stewards of the use of the ratepayer dollars, and as well as any of the RGGI funds that we had seen also in the past. And it's meant to benefit homeowners, businesses, and then other institutional organizations. We'll go into the next slide. And then we would place that money into applying that towards innovative financing solutions. So whether it be through direct investment into actual projects that are going to be done, co-investment strategies that would create public and private partnership opportunities, credit support, other direct incentive programs, and as well as securitizing investments that could then be given out and sold onto a secondary market. And then the idea is then we would then educate and activate a consumer base to then use our programs, so that basically, again, they would then see where the benefits are of doing these energy efficiency and clean energy type projects, all with the ultimate goal to accelerate that growth of clean energy benefits to the entire state of Connecticut. And we can go into the next slide. And so one of those financing solutions that the Green Bank has developed is what's known as CPACE, which stands for Commercial Property Assessed Clean Energy, which again is a type of financing and a repayment mechanism, which case the property owner repays that through an assessment placed on the property and then is repaid through their local town's tax collector mechanism that allows them then to have it where it's an affordable and certainly a easier process for them to consider doing energy saving improvements. To date, the CPACE program has closed on and completed over 240 projects statewide. We have deployed over $140 million in capital to go and place these projects into service. And we continue to expand and grow our program to meet all different kinds of new market opportunities, including now in new construction and as well as towards lead qualifying type projects as well. Let's go into the next slide. And so all different kinds of properties can use the CPACE program, which fits under the commercial and industrial umbrella, which includes retail spaces, offices, manufacturing and industrial facilities, and so on and so forth. And then each property owner would then design a custom solution by having an energy audit completed on their property, in which case then they can identify different kinds of qualifying improvements that can be done in the property, which can include things like lighting, heating and cooling equipment replacements, perhaps new insulation or new windows installed, and then also on the renewable energy side of the equation, which can include things like solar, CHP, fuel cell type technologies, just to name a few. We'll go to the next slide. And in which case, our program would then provide, up to 100% in financing, in which case before the RGGI fund sweeps that occurred last calendar year, RGGI was helping to support CPACE debt for any Connecticut Green Bank funded project that we were doing. So we once were having the benefits of RGGI helping to directly do investment into these energy efficiency improvements up until that point. And then with the simple payment structure, again, of repaying it through a tax assessment that's done on the property, it then still, again, allows property owners to see savings immediately because it is a long-term repayment obligation to the property owner that can be done over outwards to about a 25-year period. So again, it makes it more manageable, and then they can start to see savings even as they begin to make their CPACE payments. We'll go to the next slide. And so one such example that we have funded through the CPACE program, just as an example, we basically did a project at Metal Finishing Technologies, who is a metal finishing and surface preparation manufacturer, who's been in business in Bristol, Connecticut since 1947, and they largely serve aerospace and industrial customers. And the Metal Finishing Technologies management, they are very committed to environmental sustainability and doing what they can to minimize the impact that their operations would have on their environmental footprint. So they're very committed, and they were always wanting to do this project to highlight, again, their commitment to environmental sustainability as a company. Go to the next slide. And so Metal Finishing Technologies did a comprehensive project, in which case they had replaced air compressors, windows, HVAC systems, and then installed new LED lighting as well, to helping, again, improve the quality of their lighting in their manufacturing spaces and as well as their office spaces. This project was approximately about a $650,000 project as a whole, in which case the CPACE financing covered about $367,000 of this project, and also benefited from other incentive programs. So that included $280,000 in utility incentives, and as well as an almost $18,000 grant that was received as part of a special campaign we did with manufacturers called Energy on the Line, that we did in partnership with the state's Department of Economic and Community Development, and specifically an initiative called the Manufacturing Innovation Fund. And then the lifetime energy savings, as you will see just from this one project alone, is about $2 million, and that they see the energy savings of close to 43,000 MMBtus of energy. And of course, again, just a caveat, this project did not have direct RGGI investment because, again, this project was funded after the sweeps had occurred. But just to see, though, that this program still remained resilient, even in the face of those budget sweeps, and that we can still continue to meet the mission of our program and as well as the Connecticut Green Bank as a whole. And we'll go to the next slide. And that pretty much is my presentation. And again, I'd be happy to take any questions you may have once our presentations are completed. And of course, if time doesn't allot, be happy to be a resource, certainly outside of the webinar. So I will pass it back to you, Andrea.
Now we'll open up the webinar for questions. Our co-author, Elizabeth Rillington from the Frontier Group, is also on the line to answer. You can use the raise hand function or type your questions in the chat box. If you're joining by phone, please hit *9 to ask a question. Our operator will unmute you to let you ask, and please be sure to identify yourself.
We have a question from Dan Girino for Ben Grumbles. He asks, what are the prospects for RGGI expanding beyond the current group of states, including New Jersey and Virginia?
Secretary Grumbles.
Sorry, we were both trying to unmute you at the same time.
Yes, the prospects are excellent. We're working closely with New Jersey and with Virginia. And both states are providing their experts and technical analysis, and we're very optimistic on those fronts. And we also are sharing information with other states around the country as to what RGGI is, how it works, and the power of cutting emissions and investing in clean energy. So the future looks very bright.
Another question from Albert Pollard. Did Maryland consider creating an energy efficiency utility like Vermont? And if not, why? I assume this giving of RGGI money was instead of an energy efficiency utility.
And if Secretary Grumbles or Dean could answer that.
That establishing energy policy is very important for us in Maryland, and it's a team effort. And I recognize that Maryland Energy Administration and other key agencies are involved in energy policy and investing in different strategies, and we are our eyes and ears are wide open in what experiences are happening in other states, like Connecticut. And that's one of the great values of the RGGI process, where our states are all in the same room or on the same conference call, listening to what is working or what could be working, and take a strong interest in what other states are doing.
Another question. Jerry Silverman has raised his hand. Go ahead, Jerry.
Hi, this is Jerry Silverman from Bloomberg Environment with a question for Secretary Grumbles. As you know, a number of Northeast states are working on a cap and trade program for the transportation sector. And I have heard that some kind of an agreement is very close and imminent, and I was wondering if you could comment on that.
For the question, so Maryland, along with about a dozen other states over the last several years, has been meeting frequently to discuss strategies that could be part of a regional approach to reducing the carbon footprint in the transportation sector. The Georgetown Climate Center has been facilitating those efforts, been doing a great job on that front, and our states are looking at more specific components of the design for future action in the coming year. And we're still in those discussions, but every state is looking very seriously, looking at experiences from RGGI, looking at other environmental and policy and transportation aspects. And I think in the coming weeks, you will be hearing more.
Another question from Dan Giorino. Might we see RGGI expand into the Midwest? I've seen Illinois discussed as a possibility.
Secretary Grumbles, I think that would be for you.
Sure. Well, I don't know, but the success of RGGI and the willingness on a totally bipartisan basis of RGGI states, their staff, their technical experts, to be sharing information with other states from coast to coast and in between, such as in the Midwest, is promising. And all I can say is that given the 10 years of success and the growing interest in reducing carbon pollution and investing revenues and savings from those environmental efforts are attractive and are, we're getting quite a bit of attention. But I can't say what the odds are. I can just say that there are states around the nation who are taking note and showing interest in learning exactly how RGGI works, and beyond our Northeast, New England, and Mid-Atlantic current geographic basis.
Richard Lawton asks, are there any business associations or chambers of commerce that have lobbied against RGGI overall or aspects of it? If so, what is the basis of their opposition?
Nicholas, I thought you might have some thoughts on this.
Yeah, I mean, I personally have not seen anything of that nature here in the state of Connecticut. I mean, we certainly have an environment now, I think, where, businesses and especially, chambers of commerce have become more supportive of energy efficiency and other environmental sustainability efforts, as I think more important people recognize that, doing these particular improvements will help to, keep businesses around in the state of Connecticut, so that they're planted in their communities, they're continuing to expand and grow because of the energy savings and dollar savings that they're seeing from implementing those improvements. So I think people have gotten the fact that the business case is there for doing these kinds of projects. I wouldn't imagine that they would be in opposition, I think, to any of the other programs that help to support doing these energy efficiency initiatives.
Did any of our other speakers have thoughts on that question? All righty, well, that ends our questions. We haven't received any additional. So thank you all for attending this webinar. Oops, wait, we do have a late breaking question.
We do have a late breaking question from Alfred Bartlett. In Maryland, by legislative mandate, about half of RGGI proceeds and into SCIF go to paying utility bills and aggregates for low-income households. But this money goes directly to the utilities, which are providing electricity mostly from fossil fuels and nuclear. It has not been possible to apply these low-income subsidies to clean renewable energy, i.e. community solar. Can we use these subsidies better to support participation of low-income households in clean renewable energy?
Dean, did you have anything thoughts on that? Or Secretary Grumbles?
I just say it's a great question. I know people are looking into that and answers, and there's always a desire to get the most bang for our buck in the state. It's an important policy question on the future of the Strategic Energy Investment Fund. Maryland Energy Administration manages that. It's a very important program for our state, and we're looking at questions like that and how to continue to make real progress. So that's all I can say at this point, and would also say that the Maryland Energy Administration is looking real hard at ways to continuously improve those investments that our state has received through the RGGI program, over $600 million, and the future looks bright to be able to invest more. And appreciate the question, and that's about all I can say on it at that point.
Well, I want to thank our speakers and also thank our participants for attending the webinar. Please feel free to contact me or the other speakers with questions. We have recorded the webinar, and we'll send out a follow-up email with the link as well as a link to the report. In the meantime, you can also download the report at environmentamerica.org/reports. Thanks very much for your time today.